When it's cold outside, I like to sleep with a blanket on my ass. I don't want to hear the wind blow. I don't want my face to chat.
Many world leaders and UN climate experts believe that climate change is the most pressing issue of our time.
Climate change is coming in a much faster speed and much more devastating power than we ever thought.
The dangers are even bigger than we thought from climate change.
If we don't act now, we risk catastrophic changes to our climate, causing destabilizing conflicts.
Our home, Earth, is in danger.
And the Environmental Protection Agency now wants to regulate greenhouse gas emissions, that is, carbon dioxide, as pollution under the Clean Air Act, a move the U.S. Chamber of Commerce warns could cost the American economy $1.5 trillion and 2 million jobs. EPA Administrator Lisa Jackson calls climate change a matter of life and death. But what if the Earth was no longer warming, but cooling? This is how the sun has looked for most of 2008 and 2009, devoid of any sunspots. NASA says sunspot activity is now at a 100-year low.
The sun is very cold right now. When there are no sunspots, the sun is cold, and that is one of the reasons that we haven't seen warming for the past 12 years or so.
No warming? Dr. Patrick Michaels is the former Virginia State climatologist.
It may take quite some time for global warming to resume again. We haven't seen any net change in temperature for about 12 years now. That's right. We had a warming that began in about 1977 and ended somewhere in late 1997, and it hasn't been seen since.
Michaels is the author of the book Climate of Extremes, about the current political and scientific environment in which facts like the current lack of warming get trampled in the rush to save the planet.
If I tell you the world's going to come to an end, I'll get on TV. If I tell you that it's not, I probably won't. Climate of extremes describes the rhetorical climate of extremes that has arisen on climate change. Either you believe it's the end of the world or you say it's not happening at all. And the truth lies somewhere in between.
This is a shot of sunspots in the late 1990s. The high sunspot activity is believed to correlate with a hotter sun, and the 90s are widely viewed as the hottest decade since the 1930s.
The number of these small spots, they correlate with the solar activity. So when the sun is very active, then there are many of these black sunspots on the surface of the sun.
At the Danish Space Institute in Copenhagen, Dr. Jens Petersen and his staff are investigating the link between solar activity and Earth temperature. The scientific and historical records show that between the 16 and 1700s, sunspot activity was very low, and the Earth was so cold that the period became known as Little Ice Age.
We know from historic records, and these are very early observations of the sun, that there were very few of these sunspots for a very long period, from about 1650 until 1715. And this particular period of low solar activity also correlates with a period where the climate, at least in most of Europe and in other places of the world, was very cold.
It was also very cold in North America, especially compared to today. Colonial art often shows deep snows and ice-filled rivers during the winters. The winter of 1780 was so bad that here on the Virginia Beach oceanfront, the ice piled up 20 feet high and didn't melt completely until May. That's almost unimaginable in Virginia Beach today, where ice is lucky to make it past noon. At the Danish Space Institute, they're testing a theory that may explain the connection between a lack of solar activity and cooling on the Earth, the Svensmark cosmic ray theory. The Earth is constantly being bombarded with cosmic rays, high-energy particles emitted from exploding stars. The Svensmark cosmic ray theory says that when these cosmic rays enter the Earth's atmosphere, they help create clouds. An active sun strengthens a magnetic shield around the Earth that lets fewer cosmic rays get through. But if the sun is less active, as it has been recently, more cosmic rays get through. And the more cosmic rays, the more clouds, and the cooler global temperatures will be. This chamber demonstrates the effect of cosmic rays in cloud formation. The agents, called aerosols that create clouds, look like cobwebs or strands of hair. The theory has its critics, but it's also attacked for being politically incorrect because it competes with the widely accepted human-induced warming theory. So as the Obama administration pursues expensive solutions to keep the world from warming, the Earth could actually be facing a cooling trend that Michael says would be far more destructive to food supply and human health.
I think most most scientists and economists would agree that a moderate warming would probably be beneficial. And a cooling of a couple degrees would probably be very, very bad. Remember that just cooling at a few degrees brings on an ice age, and that's quite a bit different than what would happen if you warmed at a few degrees.
But global cooling does not seem to be on anyone's political agenda at the moment.